The slave auction of shame. The slave market on Valor Station was dirty, loud, and cruel. Creatures from many planets stood in the crowd, shouting, laughing, and trading lives like cheap goods. Cages lined both sides of the dusty path, each one holding someone broken, some crying, some too tired to cry. In one of the smallest cages sat a girl. She was not from any known race. Her skin was soft silver, her eyes glowing violet. But her body was thin, her hair tangled, and her arms were locked in heavy metal chains. Her feet were bare. Her back had fresh bruises. The auctioneer stood in front of her cage, waving a small stick. "This one?" he yelled to the crowd. "Worthless. Weak, barely speaks, 10 credits, just 10. The crowd laughed. "Too skinny. She looks half dead. What would I even do with her? Use her as a mop?" The girl kept her head down. She didn't respond. She had stopped hoping long ago. She only waited for the next owner to hurt her. The auctioneer kicked her cage. "Stand up," he barked. Slowly, painfully, she rose to her knees. Her chains rattled. She looked up, and for a moment her eyes met the crowd. No one saw her pain. No one cared. 10 credits, the auctioneer shouted again. "That's all it takes. Come on. Anyone?" No one raised a hand. No one wanted her. Then, suddenly, a quiet voice came from the back. "I'll take her." Everyone turned to look. It was a human. A tall man dressed in simple brown clothes, dust on his boots, a travel bag over one shoulder. He looked strong but calm. His voice was firm. The auctioneer blinked. "You? Are you sure? You want this one?" The human nodded. 10 credits, right?" The auctioneer laughed nervously. "All right, she's yours. I'll throw in the collar for free." The man stepped forward and handed over the credits. The auctioneer opened the cage and pushed the girl forward. "Here you go, mister. Good luck with this trash." The girl didn't move. The man looked at her gently. "Can you walk?" he asked softly. She hesitated. She had never been asked that question before. Most just pulled her by the chain. He noticed her fear. Without touching her, he said, "It's okay. We're going." She took a shaky step, then another. Her chains clanked as she followed him out of the market. People stared, but no one said anything. After all, it was just a 10-credit slave. They walked in silence. The girl expected him to beat her, yell at her, or sell her again. That's what others did. She knew the pattern. But he didn't say a word. He simply led her through the crowded spaceport, through side streets, and into a quiet, clean area. Finally, they stopped at a small home made of metal and stone. He opened the door. "You can go in," he said. She looked at him, confused. "You're safe now," he added. Still scared, she stepped inside. The room was simple. One bed, a couch, a table, a little kitchen. Everything was clean and quiet. He pointed to a corner with a soft mat. "You can rest there. I'll bring food." She didn't move. She only stood there, waiting for the pain to come. But he walked to the kitchen and brought a small bowl of soup and some bread. He placed it on the table near her and stepped back. "I'll leave you alone. Eat if you're hungry," he said. She stared at the food. Her hands shook. Was it poisoned? Was it a trick? The man sat down on the couch far away from her. He didn't even look at her. After some time, her hunger took over. She slowly picked up the bread and took a bite. It was warm. It didn't hurt. Tears filled her eyes. The man noticed, but he said nothing. He just looked at her and gave a small nod. Then he stood up, went to a drawer, and pulled out something soft. A blanket. He placed it near her mat. "If you're cold," he said simply. The girl looked at the blanket, then at him. He didn't shout. He didn't pull her. He didn't even ask for anything. She had no idea what was going on. All she knew was, this human didn't feel like the others. And for the first time in a long time, she was confused by kindness. The alien girl did not sleep that night. She sat curled up on the mat, eyes wide open, watching the man from the shadows. Her hands stayed close to her chest, wrapped tightly around her knees. The blanket lay untouched beside her. She feared it might be a trick, a trap, something soft. Before the pain, the man, still a stranger to her, slept quietly on the couch. No chains, no locks, no guards. Just silence. The kind of silence she had never known. When morning came, he stood up, stretched, and walked to the kitchen. She flinched, expecting commands or punishment. But he didn't even look at her with anger. Instead, he said in a calm voice, "Do you want something warm to drink? Tea?" She didn't answer. She just stared. Her throat couldn't form words. Her mind was screaming questions. Why? Why isn't he hurting me? Why did he buy me? He poured 2 cups. He placed one near her and sat down again, giving her space. Minutes passed. Steam curled from the cup. She crawled forward slowly and sniffed the drink. It smelled sweet. Her fingers touched the side of the cup, warm, real. She drank it. The man watched her but said nothing. No praise, no orders, just silence. Later he opened a small cabinet and pulled out clothes. They were plain, soft pants and a loose shirt, but clean. "These might fit you," he said, placing them on a chair. "You can wash up first if you like. There's a bathroom to the right." Wash? Her body tensed. Her memories of bathing were filled with cold water, cruel hands, and bruises, but he didn't follow her or force her. He just returned to the table and started fixing something with tools like she wasn't even a slave. Like she was normal. She stared at the clothes, then at her arms. Her skin was dirty, covered in old blood, dirt and shame. Still shaking, she slowly moved toward the bathroom. Inside, she stared at herself in the mirror. She almost didn't recognize her own reflection. Her cheeks were hollow, her lips cracked, her eyes distant. But somewhere deep behind those tired eyes, there was still life. The water was warm. She stood under it, afraid to relax, afraid it would turn to cold or someone would burst in and laugh at her, but no one came. She let the water fall over her skin. For the first time in years, she washed without pain. She touched her own body without flinching. When she came out, wearing the clean clothes, her silver skin looked brighter. Her hair was still damp, falling over her shoulders like threads of moonlight. He looked up from his tools when he heard her steps. He gave a small smile. Not too wide, not too forced. Just soft. "You look better." She lowered her eyes. He didn't comment on her scars. He didn't stare at her shape. He simply returned to his work. She moved to the mat and sat slowly. The blanket was still there. Warm, inviting. Her hands touched it gently. "Why did you buy me?" she finally asked, her voice almost a whisper. The man paused. He put down his tool and looked at her. His eyes were calm but serious. "No one should be treated like that," he said. 10 credits or 10 million, it doesn't matter. You didn't deserve that cage." Her lips trembled. "I thought you would." She couldn't finish. The memories were too dark. "I won't," he said firmly. "You're safe here." Nodded slowly. Her chest felt tight. Not with fear, but something new. Something strange. She picked up the blanket and wrapped it around herself. It felt like a hug. A real one. The man stood up. "I have to go out for a while, just to get supplies. You can rest. There's food in the kitchen. You're free to move. You don't need to be scared." "Will you come back?" she asked without thinking. He looked surprised, then smiled gently. "Of course." After he left, she sat there, staring at the door for a long time. She expected him to lock it. He didn't. She stood, walked to the kitchen, and looked around. Everything was neat, peaceful. No cameras, no chains, no shouting. She opened a cabinet. Food. Real food. She took a small piece of fruit and sat by the window. Light poured in, warm and golden. She had forgotten how it felt. For the first time since she had been captured, she felt something small grow inside her. Not fear, not shame, not pain. Hope. She stood in front of the mirror again, her damp hair falling across her shoulders. Her fingers moved slowly over her arms, touching the long, faded scars. Some were from sharp metal, others from ropes. A few were too old to remember. Her reflection didn't lie. She was broken, inside and out. But something had changed. She was wearing clean clothes. Her face had been washed. Her chains were gone, and the human had not looked at her with hunger or hate. He had looked at her like she mattered. She didn't understand it. She had lived too long in cages, sold from one hand to another. To most, she was a tool, a toy, an object. But now, someone had handed her tea, a blanket, and soft words. It made no sense. When the door opened again, she froze. He had returned. His hands held 2 bags of supplies. He looked tired but calm. When he saw her standing near the window, he gave a small nod. "You're still here," he said, almost like it was a surprise. "I didn't know if I was allowed to leave," she replied quietly. "You're not a prisoner," he said gently, putting the bags down. "You can leave any time. But I'm glad you stayed." That made her pause. No one had ever been glad she was near. He handed her a piece of soft bread from the bag. She took it with both hands, like it was something sacred. "I'm going to fix the heating unit," he said, pointing to the wall. "It gets cold at night." She didn't respond, but she sat close enough to watch him work. He pulled out tools and unscrewed a metal panel. As he worked, he explained things to her, even though she didn't ask. "This here controls the airflow," he said. "It's a simple system, but old." She nodded slightly. The sound of his voice was steady like a river. It calmed her. When he finished, the heater hummed softly. "There," he smiled. "Should be warmer now." She looked at him for a long time. "Why do you treat me this way?" she asked. He sat on the floor, across from her, not too close. "What way?" Like I'm not broken." He was quiet for a moment. "Because I don't see you that way," he said. "I see someone strong, someone who survived." Her lips parted slightly. She had never been called strong. She had never felt like it. "Most people don't want to. Look at me," she whispered. "They only see the damage." "I saw your eyes," he said softly. "Not your scars." She looked down quickly, hiding her face. His words hit something deep inside her chest, something she didn't know was still alive. After a long silence, she finally asked, "What's your name?" He smiled. "Call me Dane." She repeated it quietly. "Dane." He didn't ask for her name. He didn't demand her past. He didn't try to touch her. Instead, he stood up and pointed to the couch. "You can sleep there tonight. It's more comfortable." She looked at him in disbelief. "I don't have to sleep on the floor?" "No," he said. "Not unless you want to." She nodded slowly. Her feet moved toward the couch, unsure. She sat down. The cushions were soft. Her eyes closed for a moment and she felt warmth. Not from the heater, but from something else. Trust. Before Dane turned away, she spoke. Again, "My name is Sira." He turned back to look at her. "That's a beautiful name," he said. No one had ever said that before. No one had even cared to ask. That night, Sira sat on the couch with the blanket wrapped around her. Dane stayed in the corner, fixing something small with his tools. There was no cage, no fear, no shouting, only quiet, and the strange beating of her heart. She touched one of her scars lightly. He had seen them, but he had only looked into her eyes, and for the first time she wondered if maybe she was still more than just what had been done to her. Maybe she could become someone again. Sira woke up to soft light filtering through the small window. The blanket was still around her. The couch had been warm, too warm. It had made her dream of things she didn't understand. In her dream, no one hit her. No one touched her without asking. No one dragged her by chains. When she opened her eyes, Dane was already awake. He sat at the small table drinking something from a metal cup. His eyes met hers and he gave a small nod. "Morning," he said. She sat up slowly, unsure. "Good morning," she whispered back. Dane stood and walked to the kitchen. "There's food if you're hungry." Sierra hesitated. She always had to. Earn her meals before. Clean something, serve someone, or worse. But here, he just offered it like it was normal. She moved quietly to the table and sat down. Dane placed a plate in front of her. Warm eggs, fresh fruit, bread with soft butter. Her hands hovered over the food, still not sure if it was truly hers. Dane didn't watch her like others used to. His eyes didn't follow her body. He just ate his own meal and looked out the window as if she was just a guest, maybe even a friend. Sierra ate slowly, carefully. "Do you need me to do something today?" she asked softly, breaking the silence. Dane looked confused. "Do something? For you? Cleaning? Work? I can wash clothes or sweep. I can earn my place." He set his cup down. "You don't have to earn anything, Sierra." "But I'm yours, aren't I?" she asked, her voice shaking. "You bought me." Dane's face changed. He looked hurt, but not angry. "I didn't buy you to own you," he said. "I bought you so no one else could hurt you." She didn't know how to answer. Her whole life had taught her otherwise. People only took if they wanted something. No one gave without expecting something back. "I don't understand you," she said honestly. "That's okay," Dane said, standing to clean the dishes. "You don't have to. Just be here. That's enough." She watched him carefully. The way he moved, the way he spoke. There was no cruelty, no hidden anger. She tried to find a reason, a catch, a trick, but she couldn't. Later that day, she saw him working on a broken drone outside. He had tools spread across the ground, and he was covered in dust. She stepped out, unsure if she was allowed to be there. But when he saw her, he smiled again. "Sun feels good today," he said. She nodded. He didn't tell her to go back inside. He didn't bark orders. So she sat nearby, watching as he repaired wires and checked circuits. "Where did you learn? To fix things?" she asked. "Earth," he said. "I was a mechanic." "What's Earth like?" she asked. "Crowded," he chuckled. "But full of stories." He paused, then added, "And you? Where are you from?" She looked down. "I don't remember. They took me too young. I was sold from planet to planet. No one ever told me where I came from." He was quiet for a moment. "Well, you're here now," he said, "and you're safe." The wind was gentle, the sunlight soft. For the first time, she didn't feel like a ghost. She felt like someone who existed, someone real. As the sun began to set, Dane stood and stretched. "Want to help me cook tonight?" he asked. She blinked. "You want me to help?" He nodded. "Only if you want to." She smiled, a small, confused, uncertain smile, but a smile all the same. "Okay." In the kitchen, they cooked together. She chopped vegetables while he handled the rest. He didn't hover over her. He didn't criticize. He just worked beside her like it was the most natural thing in the world. They ate dinner quietly. The room was warm, not just from the heater, but from something deeper. When the stars came out, she sat by the window again. Dane stood behind her. "You can take the bed tonight. You need real rest." "But where will you sleep?" she asked. "I'll take the couch," he replied. "It's fine." She looked at him, really looked. "You still haven't asked me for anything." She said. "I won't," he replied. "But why?" He shrugged. "Because no one ever gave you a choice. I want to change that." Sierra sat quietly, her heart aching with something unfamiliar. This man, this human, was showing her a kind of care she didn't believe existed, And she didn't know what scared her more, that it was real, or that she was beginning to hope. That night, Sierra lay on the bed for the first time. The blanket was soft, the mattress thick. Her body didn't ache from the cold floor anymore, and there were no metal bars around her. But still, sleep did not come easily. She stared at the ceiling, listening to the quiet hum of the heater and the occasional creak of the walls. In the other room, Dane had turned off the lights and was likely already asleep on the couch. She had watched him earlier, quietly folding a blanket and lying, down without complaint. He didn't even argue when she tried to insist he take the bed. He simply said, "You need it more than I do." Why? Why did he do that? He never looked at her with the same eyes others had. He never made her feel small. Never used her. Never even touched her without permission. She had never met someone like him. Her eyes closed slowly, but her mind wouldn't stop. The past haunted her. In her dreams, the cages returned. The cold floors, the chains, the laughter of those who owned her. Sharp pain, shouts in unknown languages. Her voice lost in the dark. She whimpered, then cried. Her body tensed, curled in fear, arms rising as if to protect herself from strikes that weren't coming. Suddenly, a soft voice called her name. Sierra. Her eyes snapped open. Tears stained her cheeks. She sat up in the bed, breathing hard. Dane was there. He wasn't touching her, but he had pulled a chair beside the bed. He looked worried, his eyes gentle in the dim light. "You were crying," he said quietly. It sounded like a nightmare. She wiped her face quickly, ashamed. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you." "You didn't," he replied. "I just wanted to make sure you were okay." Sierra looked away. "It happens sometimes. I dream of them." Dane nodded slowly. "I can stay until you fall asleep again, if that helps." She hesitated, then gave a small nod. He didn't ask anything more. He didn't move closer. He just sat in silence beside the bed, arms resting on his knees, watching the soft shadows dance on the wall. Sierra lay down again, slowly. Her back still shook a little. She clutched the blanket tighter. After a long pause, she whispered, "They used to hurt me in my sleep. If I made noise. If I moved." "You're safe now," he said softly. "No one will hurt you here." "I don't know how to believe that," she said. "That's okay," he replied. "You don't have to believe it right away, just rest for now." His voice, low and steady, calmed her. She listened to it like music she hadn't heard in years. Something warm began to push away the cold inside her. She looked at him again. "Why? Are you so kind to me?" He didn't answer right away. Then, with a deep breath, he said, "Because someone should have been kind to you a long time ago, and I can't change your past. But I can be better now." Tears slipped down her cheeks, again, but this time they felt different. She reached out slowly, very slowly, and let her fingers rest near his hand on the edge of the bed. She didn't grab it, she just let it be close. Dane noticed but didn't move. He didn't force the touch. He let her decide. That small, silent gesture meant everything to her. For the rest of the night, she slept quietly. No nightmares came, and even if they had, she knew now, someone would be there. Morning sunlight peeked through the window, soft and golden. Sierra woke up with a calm she hadn't felt in years. The chair beside the bed was empty now, but a folded blanket sat neatly on it. Dane had gone back to the couch at some point, but he had stayed long enough. She touched the edge of the bed where his hand had been near hers. Her chest felt heavy, but not with fear, with something new. Trust, hope, maybe even beginnings. She got up, washed her face, and went to the kitchen where she found him already preparing breakfast. He looked up and gave her that same calm smile. "Sleep, okay?" She nodded. "Yes. Better than I thought I could." "Good," he said, handing her a plate. And just like that, it felt like they weren't strangers anymore. She wasn't a slave. He wasn't a master. They were two people, sharing space, sharing silence, and slowly, sharing healing. The days passed slowly, like the gentle flow of a quiet stream. Sira stayed. She no longer asked if she should. She simply remained, waking early and sitting by the window while Dane cooked breakfast. He never rushed her, never demanded she speak. But when she did, he always listened. One day the wind howled outside. Dust danced in the air as the sky turned orange with the coming storm. Dane stepped in from the porch, brushing sand from his jacket. "Storm's strong today," he said, closing the door behind him. Sira looked out the window. "We're safe. Here?" He nodded. "This place is built for it." She didn't know why, but she believed him. That evening they ate by the heater. She had cooked most of the meal herself. Dane only helped when she asked. She was beginning to learn how to do things not out of fear, but because she wanted to. After dinner they sat on the floor with tea between them. Outside the storm roared like an angry beast, but inside the little house felt warm. Sira spoke first. "I don't remember my parents." Dane looked up slowly. "I have flashes. A woman with soft hands. A melody. Maybe a lullaby. But everything else is dark. You were taken young," he said quietly. She nodded. "I think they loved me. Before the cages." He didn't ask for more. He didn't press. Just listened. She studied his face. Weathered, but calm, like a quiet mountain. She could see pain hidden deep behind his steady gaze. A pain he didn't speak of. "You've lost people too, haven't you?" she asked. Dane looked down at his tea. "Yes." "Who?" "My brother. A long time ago." "How?" Dane hesitated, then answered. "War. A mission gone wrong. I couldn't save him." "I'm sorry," she said softly. He nodded. "Thank you." For a long time they sat in silence. No words were needed. Their pain, though different, spoke the same language. And then, without thinking, she reached out and gently placed her hand over his. His hand was rough, warm, and still. He didn't move. He didn't pull away. Sira's heart raced, not with fear, but with something strange, something warm. She had been touched before, but this was the first time she had reached out, the first time it had been her choice. His hand slowly turned, under hers, letting their palms rest together. His fingers didn't grip, they simply accepted. She looked into his eyes, waiting for something, confusion, rejection, pity. But there was none of that. There was only quiet and understanding. "You're not afraid of me?" she asked. "No," he replied. "Are you afraid of me?" She shook her head. "Not anymore." He smiled, softly, sadly. "That means everything." She wanted to ask him what this feeling was. The soft ache in her chest, the way her hand didn't want to let go. But the words felt too big, so she just held his hand a little longer. Later that night, Sira lay awake, staring at the ceiling again. But not because of nightmares. This time, she was thinking about him, how he had changed her without touching her body, how he had made her feel human again without saying grand things. She turned toward the hallway and whispered into the quiet, "Dane?" His voice came gently, half asleep. "Yeah? Why are you alone?" There was a pause. "Because the galaxy is loud," he said, "and sometimes people need quiet." "I think I needed quiet too," she said. Another pause. "Then maybe," he replied. "We found the same silence." She smiled in the dark. She didn't know what they were to each other. Not yet. Not fully. But it wasn't pain. It wasn't fear. And it wasn't ownership. It was something new, something real, something hers, and for now, that was enough. Sira stood in front of the small mirror, brushing her hair slowly. Her silver strands now fell clean and smooth past her shoulders. Her skin, once covered in bruises and filth, now glowed with gentle light. There were still scars, but she didn't hide them anymore. She had started to see them not as shame, but as proof. She had survived. Behind her, the home was quiet. Dane had gone to gather supplies from the nearby station. He had left her with a smile and the same soft words he always used. "Take your time. I'll be back soon." It had been 3 months since he had bought her for 10 credits. 3 months since he gave her a blanket instead of a whip. 3 months since she had tasted freedom for the first time. The days were no longer heavy. She laughed now, softly, not always, but honestly. She cleaned, cooked, helped Dane fix machines, and sometimes just sat with him under the stars. He never asked for anything, never made her feel owned. But deep inside, a feeling had started to grow. It had roots. One morning, after a quiet breakfast, she looked at him differently. "You never treated me like I was yours," she said. "But somehow, I feel like I am." Dane looked at her gently. "You've always belonged to yourself, Sira. I just wanted you to see it." Her hands trembled as she reached for his. "I want to stay, not because I have to, because I want to." He didn't say anything for a long moment. Then, with emotion in his voice, he whispered, "Then stay. Forever if you want." From that moment, they were no longer just two broken souls in the same space. They were becoming one life. Today, Sira was nervous. Dane had been working all week on something secret. She wasn't sure what. He refused to tell her. He'd only smiled and said, "You'll know when the time is right." As sunset approached, she stepped outside. The storm season had ended, and the sky was clear, deep blue with streaks of soft orange. She walked toward the small garden they had planted together weeks ago. The flowers were blooming, odd shapes, alien colors, but beautiful all the same. And then she saw him standing near the edge of the porch, waiting for her. He wasn't in his usual work clothes. He wore something clean, formal, almost ceremonial. His hands held a small wooden box. Sira stepped closer, confused. "What is this?" Dane opened the box. Inside was a simple ring, hand-carved, smooth, and glowing slightly, made not of gold or silver, but of a special wood from a healing tree they had discovered together on a walk. She remembered touching it, admiring it. She had no idea he had taken some of its wood that day. Sira's eyes widened. Her heart thudded. Dane looked into her eyes, not with force, not with demand, but with a deep, trembling honesty. "You were given to me in chains," he said. "But I don't want your past. I want your heart. I want your future. Will you be my wife, Sira? Not because you owe me, not because I saved you, but because you choose me." Her breath caught in her throat. No one had ever asked what she wanted. She had never imagined love was meant for someone like her, and yet, here he was. She stepped closer, reached out, and placed her hand on his chest. "My whole life," she whispered, "I was waiting for someone to open the door. You didn't just open it. You stood beside me when I was too scared to walk through it alone." Then she nodded, tears in her glowing violet eyes. "Yes, Dane. I choose you." He slipped the ring onto her finger, and instead of kissing her like in the stories, he wrapped his arms around her and held her, tight, safe, warm. In that moment, the past melted. The cages, the chains, the bruises, they became distant echoes. Because now she wasn't a slave. She wasn't a survivor. She was a wife, loved, respected, chosen. That night they sat on the same couch where she had once curled in fear. Her head rested on his shoulder, their hands quietly locked together. Outside, stars danced in the sky. Inside, peace lived in silence. Sira closed her eyes and smiled. She had been bought for 10 credits, but what she had now was priceless.